Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast after an unexpected 2-week hiatus. I'm your host, Andrew, and joining me tonight is Joe. Joe, I know you're all recovered from surgery. Good to see you up and about, man. How you doing?
It's good to be back, man. I appreciate our listeners hanging with us with the unexpected delays here, being out a couple weeks. So uh, glad to be back.
Yeah, I was coughing up both of my lungs, and I think I was trying to cough up a kidney last week too. I mean, it got bad enough that I went to the doctors to get cough medicine. That's how bad that was. You know me. I never do that. So yeah, I was pretty down and out for the count early in the last week. So feels good to be healthy and be back and ready to talk baseball. Because let's be real, if Atlanta showed us anything, it's better to be crappy in the beginning than be crappy at the end. So let's hope all the bad luck, bad juju's washed out for now, and it's going to be smooth sailing for us the rest of the way. I hope for Atlanta too, but really more for us than anything else. So, Joe, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I've got a mix of Evan Williams and Sprite tonight.
Nice.
Something a little different because I just don't know. Like it's been an interesting couple of weeks watching the Cubs win a lot of games, win a lot of tough games, lose a lot of tough games. Obviously, having some injuries that you know all about that in Atlanta,
Oh
but
yeah.
but losing Justin Steele last week is a big loss considering some of the free agents the Cubs didn't get. So I'm a little conflicted and just kind of mixing it up a little bit.
Sounds like a plan. So for me tonight, I'm enjoying one of the local breweries up in Harrisburg, Evergreen Brewing. This is their number 42 Sorbetto, because I figured, hey, beer called number 42 after last week with Jackie Robinson. Got to go with that. It's a sour ale, raspberry swirl, raspberry marshmallow, and vanilla. Cool can art, not going to lie. Excuse me. Hopefully that won't happen too much tonight. Solid sour though, honestly. And if you ever get a chance to go up to Evergreen, great atmosphere to go up, have some beer, good food up there too. They kind of did what Trogs did with the little, doing the little micro pub restaurant fusion thing, and it's a good time up there. All right, so let's first blast off some of the stuff from the last couple weeks. Vlad Jr. finally got paid after they said they weren't going to be doing any more in-season negotiations. They did continue, and here it is: 14 years, 500 million, no deferrals. It's the third largest deal in MLB history, excuse me, behind Otani and Soto's deals. I think, Joe, this was an extremely important deal for the Jays to get done. They've struck out recently on the big free agents. They haven't been able to keep their homegrown talent around, like Roy Halladay left. So a couple thoughts I had. We're not going to see a rebuild in Toronto now. Not after you sign this big deal. They might do. This might be a year where they might not go all in at the deadline, and if things aren't looking great, they might sell off some other pieces to get some more back. But they're not going to rebuild. Do you think Vlad's going to be the best Blue Jay ever when he retires?
I mean, if they don't win a World Series, no. I mean,
That's fair.
it's Joe Carter, right? I mean, I think Joe Carter will go down as one of the greatest unless Vlad wins a couple World Series because it's just the big moments kind of captivate you, and I think that's a prisoner of the moment, so to speak, when it comes to Vlad. He had a bit of a some more valleys than peaks last year. I felt like. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of why this deal took longer to get done than it should have. If you were planning to keep him, it's been really hard to figure out what the heck the Blue Jays are trying to do, um, especially with all of last year waiting for this to drop. All the trade talk with Bo Bichette in the offseason and some of that, Um, so it'd be really interesting to see what they do with some of that talent that's there. Um, you know, Kevin Biggio is gone. Bo Bichette could be gone. Um, you know, it'll be interesting to see what they do with some of those pieces and whether they bring them back or what they retool and do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not sure. You know, um, I'm fortunate we don't necessarily play Toronto, so I don't have to worry about this. But I mean, if you're in the AL East and you were hoping he was going to be gone, sorry, it's not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, the locking him in from a year standpoint, I'm sure this is going to be front loaded because by the back end of that, he'll certainly be less of a player, less of a contributor. So, I mean, it certainly signals that they wanted to at least keep their star around. What it signals as far as beyond that, I think is hard to tell at this point, at least for me. I know this definitely will, drive up the Alonso stuff in the next year or two, and drive up the market there. I think getting Alonso's deal done before this happened kind of obviously it hurts Pete at least temporarily, but could benefit Pete down the line with his contract stuff.
So I pulled up on a Baseball Reference here the breakdown for the contract. So Vlad is going to make $28.5 million this year, and yes, it is a front-loaded contract. He is going to make 40.2 the next 2 seasons, and then 39.2, 38.2, 3 years at 37.7, 2 years at 35.7, 34.7, 33.7, 30.2, and the last 2 years, his age 39 and age 40 season, will be 29.4 each. So yeah, very much front loaded, but boy, that's 29, almost 29.5 million for a 39 and a 40-year-old. That's a lot of money, man. And you know what? I bet it wouldn't have been that bad if they would have negotiated this before now. Because who has the leverage? It's been Toronto for the longest time, but over the years, as they've whittled away, it's definitely flipped over to Vladdy, and he cashed in. And I have absolutely no issue with him doing that. I looked up the WAR too while you were talking. He's already all-time. He's number 16 all-time on the team already at 21.9 coming into the year. Number 1 all-time is actually Dave Stieb at 56.8. Keep in mind that this is just WAR from when they were on the Blue Jays. Doc is number 2 at 48. Jose Bautista at 38.4. Tony Fernandez at 37.5. Delgado at 36.8. So he'll definitely make, if his career trajectory stays the same, whether he gets the ring or not, he's definitely going to make Toronto's Mount Rushmore before it's all said and done, I think.
I mean, yeah, provided he can deliver consistent results. I mean, I think I don't think there's too much to worry about, I guess, but I think having a bit of more of a down year, at least for parts of it last year, taking a good 3 weeks to get a homer this year. Now, whether that's the talent around him and them not pitching to him or what, but I mean, have taken a while for him to get going. And I don't know if he's gotten a homer since then, but like since the other day. But if PCA has more homers than Vlad Jr. at this point in the year, we've got a problem.
He does. Although that said, Vlad is hitting 305 right now. So
yeah, I mean,
he's not getting the home runs, and that's going to come with him. I'm just happy to see that he's squaring up and striking well.
Yeah. I mean, certainly that's important. I'm not trying to downplay that by any means, but from a power standpoint, you're kind of watching him kind of finally break through. I think we'll see what happens from here on out.
Yeah, he's actually even at walks and strikeouts right now, 14 and 14 coming into today. So he's definitely seeing the ball and getting better contact this year, even if it's not always going out. So good for him. Yeah, the walk rate's at 14.3% right now. That's awesome. Keep it up. Excuse me. Also, can I just say it's very nice to not see the Dodgers get him? Is it mean to say that at this point, even though they're set at first base with Freddie Freeman?
The fact that they were already set, kind of, it's a moot point. They didn't need him, and I'd rather have a more athletic first baseman, unless he's in the showers, than Vlad Jr. So, I think, I didn't expect them to kind of go after him. I wouldn't have been surprised if some other teams had maybe tried to get him at some point this year. But Yeah.
All right, and then we had the goose that decided to take a gander around Wrigley Field a couple weeks ago, nesting under the center field scoreboard. This was great, man. This is the kind of thing early season baseball needed. The day after on Saturday, they had a staff of geese keepers guarding a section of vacated seats so the goose would have its safe area around its nest. And I heard the fans started calling the goose Suzuki. Love it.
Why? Because he performs below expectation.
Ooh. Man, that didn't come out of left field, although it feels like it did.
I will say this, of course, anything like this just takes on a life of its own. And I think Joe at Obvious Shirts had to give a graphic. He didn't make a shirt yet, I don't think, but it was a goose in that little grass section there by the scoreboard, and it was section 538.
I love that.
So that was certainly interesting, to say the least. But yeah, strange things happening at Wrigley. I mean, at least they didn't get snow. So
yeah, it's true. Yeah, that snowed that week.
They should have.
Then down in the Dominican Republic, you had that nightclub roof that collapsed. There were two former baseball players that passed away in that tragedy. Octavio Dotel and Tony Blanco. Also Nelson Cruz's sister, Nelsie, who she was also a provincial governor in the DR, also passed away in the accident. So our thoughts went out to all the family of those affected by that. Jackson Merrill. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know, we saw my in-laws last week, and my father-in-law and my sister-in-law were talking about, they recognized Octavio's name, and I think may have known the sister. My sister-in-law might know the sister or cousin or something like that. So it was really interesting to kind of hear him talk about him a little bit. I do remember him vaguely, but not really as much as he does. So.
Yeah, he did play a little bit for Atlanta. I do remember him pitching. At times he was a real high octane guy. Then you had Jackson Merrill, the Padres, cash in on a big deal and then immediately gets hurt. I think it was the next day, actually. So, baseball giveth and baseball taketh right back sometimes. I feel like the Padres are going to be just fine with the start they've had, even without Jackson Merrill.
Well, and I think, honestly, it felt to me as if that was a lot of people, I think, jumped on Merrill for taking what appeared to be a more team-friendly deal. Mm-hmm. And I think, he was very much outspoken saying, look, I just want to play and I want to play here. And he kind of just, I think it's refreshing to see a player who wants to play there.
Yeah. And it's, he's still getting paid. So it's only going to be $809,000 this year because he's still in arbitration years. So he's giving up his arbitration. He'll get paid 2.1 next year, 7.1, 9.1, then 11.1 in 29, and then 21.1 the rest of the way until his age 32 season. Now, his salary can go up $1 million each year with 500 plus plate appearances, which he's going to get. Unless he's hurt, he's going to get 500 plate appearances. And his 2035 year, if he finishes with a top 5 MVP finish at any point in this contract, that last year becomes a player option. And the option value may go up by up to $9 million as well. So it's not like the Padres didn't give him anything in that deal. I'm actually okay with that deal. I didn't think that was a bad deal at all. And I don't think he's really going to lose. Well, let's be real. In arbitration, if you're not a superstar, you're not going to really gain or lose much by signing early, maybe a couple million here and there a year. But it's, you're not going to see this isn't like Ozzie Albies, who is criminally underpaid right now in that extension he signed with Atlanta compared to what the second base market is. Now, granted, nobody knew the second base market was going to explode like it did after he signed that deal, to be fair as well. But I really, this doesn't, it's team friendly, yes, but this doesn't feel like it's so heavily team friendly that he's going to lose out big time over the next couple of years. I didn't get the sense of that from this deal, especially looking at the increase that he can get, as well as the fact that they gave him an option if he plays well enough that can become a player option that last year. So he could potentially hit free agency a year early even. And, jumping that up to almost $30 million a year. I don't think that's a bad deal at all for him.
No, I don't either. It just seemed like some of the reaction was a little mixed to it, and seemed like some folks thought maybe he should have waited to see what he could get, I guess. But I mean, I think it's refreshing to find a guy who just wants to play and doesn't really care where it is, and he has a place where he wants to play, and he's just gonna do what it takes to stay there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see. It really is. And it's good to see teams keep I like it when teams are able to keep their homegrown talent. I really do. Cody Bellinger swearing off hot wings after he ordered room service hot wings and got food poisoning. Cody, money is not an issue for you. I don't know I don't know where they were that he thought the hotel would have good hot wings. I don't care what hotel it is, unless they have like a really good sports bar downstairs that's known for wings. Every city where there is a Major League Baseball team, there is a restaurant that with the money you have, you could easily have DoorDash as many hot wings as you wanted from the finest wing eateries in the city, and you wouldn't have gotten food poisoning. Like, it just feels to me like he made the laziest choice he could on the room service menu and just paid the price for it. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I'm obviously not a fan of a lot of Cody Bellinger's personal decisions, but look, this is just kind of par for the course. Sometimes he is great, and sometimes he makes questionable decisions, and whether there were other factors contributing to that decision, one will never know. But look, like you said, come on, really? Room service hot wings? Come on.
I just can't. I saw that when it happened 2 weeks ago. I'm like, you're a Major League Baseball player who's a multimillionaire, and you got room service hot wings. Oh, yeah, that's on you, dude. It really is.
And I mean, look, three years in a row on 420, Cody Bellinger has hit a home run. I think that explains a lot of things. Number one. Number two, if you're a gambling person, next year on 420, bet for Cody Bellinger to hit at least one home run.
Yeah, I mean,
free gambling advice.
It's not a bad bet, although the bet to Nick Castellanos hitting a home run tonight is not yet paid off. With the death of the Pope earlier, everybody's expecting Castellanos to do what he usually does when there's big news and hit a home run, and that has not yet happened. But the game is still going on. We're only in the middle of the sixth in Philadelphia, in New York. So plenty of time for that to still happen. Then we had two college universities with incredibly long losing streaks. Both snapped them against each other. So Lehman University came in on a 42-game losing streak, and Yeshiva University on a 99-game winning streak played a doubleheader. Lehman won the first game, coming from behind to snap their streak in extra innings. And then in game two, Yeshiva won to split the doubleheader and snap a 100-game losing streak. That's baseball, man. I love seeing it. And I love that they did it against each other. So the two longest losing streaks, I believe, in college baseball right now are now snapped. So I don't know who's leading the race to the bottom currently, but it's finally not Yeshiva. I mean, 100 games in a row, man. That's demoralizing to a program. Makes me feel like if I still had eligibility, I would have probably been a better pitching option at this point.
Well, I don't know if we want to go that far, but
yeah, that's fair. I probably can't break a pane of glass anymore with a fastball, but that's okay. I still know how to throw a knuckleball and a split-fingered fastball.
There you go.
The second umpire perfect game happened on 410. Mark Rippinger in the 3-2 Kansas City win over Minnesota. 89 out of 89 balls called correctly and 47 out of 47 strikes called correctly. So congratulations to Mark. That's awesome. We rag on umps a lot, and we're probably going to be ragging on umps again tonight because let's be frank, they've earned it in a lot of these cases. But it is nice when you see somebody do well. It's nice to be able to celebrate the achievement as well. Ben May, very nearly last week, became the third, very nearly called the third ump perfect game in Atlanta's 8-4 win over Toronto, but he missed one call. So close. So close. And it wasn't far off either. I pulled up his scorecard later because I always pull him up after Braves games, and I was like, damn. I didn't realize he was that he was that close. That's hey, it's good to see. Hopefully we see more umpires doing things like this. Please.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
cute.
And I think with Mark Ripperger, I think he's the Ripper, if I'm not mistaken. That there's always a video of him when he punches somebody out where he almost stabs the guy. So that usually pops up over on, I don't remember if that's Pitching Ninja or somebody else, but whenever he's umpiring a game, if somebody strikes out and he's behind a plate, it's hilarious to watch.
It's honestly, it's fun. Let the umpires have fun. I don't mind it. I wish we saw it more. I miss what was this? Ron Luciano. Ron Luciano. If you ever want to see a character, pull up some old YouTube videos of Ron Luciano umpiring. He was at times the class clown, and at other times, he was the umpire that felt like he couldn't take his job seriously, but at the same time, he also did a really good job. He was voted several times by the players to be one of the top 5 umps in the league. So I can't say the same for Ken Kaiser, who wrote Planet of the Ump, which is a great book. I do recommend you. I do recommend the read. It is very funny. Ken Kaiser was not known as one of the better umps in the league, but got to umpire with Luciano a lot and see a lot of hijinks from those crews. So I don't mind when the umpires are a little bit flamboyant, and maybe some of it's from watching Banana Ball last year, where you've got the umpire at first base who dresses like a ninja and does front flips versus the twerking dancing umpire behind the plate. It's not bad to see the umpire have a little enthusiasm. There's nothing wrong with that, especially when they're doing a good job. Let's let them do that,
For sure.
All right, so some uniform changes so far. Baltimore went mono orange earlier this year, which I'm not usually a mono uni fan when it's colored, but the Blue Jays wore their mono baby blues, and it actually wasn't a bad looking matchup overall. I wouldn't be upset if the two teams did that again later this year. The Twins, they swapped out the blue pants on their City Connects for white, much better. Again, monocolor, not always a good thing. Mono white's always a good look. Of course, it's traditional baseball. We have some new City Connects across the board. The Nationals, Astros, Rockies, and Giants have all had theirs. I think my favorite so far is the Rockies here. I'm just going to pop this one up, Joe. I pulled theirs up because this is a good shot of, you can see the Sox in here. So right here, I think it's a really clean look. It's definitely one of the better ones that we've seen so far. The one thing I don't like is that I really like the Rockies old City Connects. So I kind of would, I wouldn't mind if the Rockies would end up keeping the old City Connects as a regular jersey and then keeping these new ones in there. I really like those socks. It's just, it keeps like that traditional purple they've always had, but throws some new things in there. It's definitely, I think, one of the better ones that have come out so far this year. What do you think of that one?
I mean, it was certainly different. I sort of prefer the old one a lot more for Colorado, at least.
It was good. It was a good one.
Yeah, it just feels to me when you get too much color happening, it just kind of takes away, and it's kind of over the top, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Over the rocky top, if you will. Um, like, I mean, it's a neat, it's a neat set. I'm not gonna, if I were a Rocky fan, I might buy something with it, but like, it just doesn't appeal to me all that much. I mean, of the four new sets you mentioned, I saw the Astros one pretty up close. That was pretty clean, pretty sharp.
Hmm.
Um, the the Nationals, I like their old one a little too much to enjoy anything else.
Yeah.
And I think the Giants, you know, I
Here,
probably prefer the old one to this new one, but they're both not that super great, I guess.
yeah, here's from MLB.com. Here, just for anybody who's missed it, here, let me blow that up a little bit. So that's the Giants' new one. I didn't like the Giants' old one at all because you couldn't see the numbers at all. The fonts aren't great, but I think these are an improvement on the old ones for the Giants. Here's the Astros new one. Whoops, sorry. The Astros, I liked the old Space City ones, but these are pretty clean, and I like the white triangle in the front with the tricolored hat. That's a really nice look, and I like the socks too with the new Astro uniforms. That was another one though that I did like the Space City ones, but these do definitely look more like a baseball jersey perhaps than the Space City ones did. Yeah, here's the Nationals. The old one was better. I do like the new hats better, but I like the old uniform better. Like when like this is a close up, you can see like the city grid that they put on there. When you're looking from the stands, you can't see that. It's a completely lost detail.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I know that they're. I mean, it's all of this is obviously a merch dump in a lot of ways.
yeah,
Um, but it's just kind of like, okay, like how much of this are we gonna do? Like,
yeah. Nike's doing the same thing they did to the NBA uniforms, where they just want to keep shoveling merchandise through.
and I wouldn't be necessarily mad about it if clubs were given the option to replace another uniform.
Yeah,
Like if they had said to the Nationals, for example, hey, let's replace your road gray with the City Connect,
yeah.
and then let's introduce this one as an alternate. Same kind of thing with Colorado. Let's make this new one the road uni. Let's keep the new one as the home one because it's obviously got white to it and that kind of thing. Like I'd wish they would just, if they're gonna release a second City Connect,
Hmm.
give them the option to swap out one of the ones that are already in the palette or
Or
already in stock.
or better yet, let's get rid of the stupid 5-in-1 roll because it's dumb. Teams
Well,
should be
yeah,
like let teams have as many freaking uniforms as they want. Why did we let Nike okay 5+1? That was stupid.
I mean, at some point, I think you know there's something to be said for merch dumps, but there's also something to be said for merch dumps that you can actually calculate a benefit from.
Yeah.
If you have 1,000 uniforms, then you're not going to sell much. You're not going to sell any of one, and that's going to water down the market, and it wouldn't just wouldn't be good from a merch sales standpoint. So I get why they have a rule. Um, I think if anything, I wish they would give them the option to swap out one of their current uniforms for the old one. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
because
I,
some of these teams definitely have uniform alternates that serve absolutely no aesthetic or functional purpose at all and could absolutely be swapped to keep one of the better City Connect designs.
yeah, I mean, Colorado, I don't think it's changed anything in 30 years,
No,
and
not
it's
not
ridiculous.
major. Yeah.
So let's swap some things out. You're not winning with the uniform you're wearing. It's not like it's lucky or anything.
No, definitely not.
Like I don't know, man. It just seems to me like you know, it's an easy way to change it to make it a little more worthwhile.
Absolutely. Then, excuse me, sorry. Then we had a fan interference that looked kind of similar to a play that happened in the World Series last year. Mike Trout had a young fan rip the ball out of his glove. It was not ruled fan interference after replay, which is insane to me because you could clearly see the ball in his glove and the kid ripped it out. Now, Mike Trout, being the cool guy that he is, caught up with the fan later, took some pictures with him, signed some autographs. So, no hard feelings there, but they definitely butchered that on replay. That was clearly fan interference. I don't know why it wasn't called as such. Let's see. And then on 4/15, the Rays losing streak got extended to 15 years. It's been, this is insane. The Rays have not won on April 15th now for 15 straight years. Well, 15 straight games. It's been, I think, 17 or 18 years because they've had a couple of years where they didn't play. They lost 7-4 this year to Boston. Walker Buehler won his second decision of the season on that day. If you're a betting guy next year, 4/15, if the Rays are playing, I'd bet against them. I know all streaks got to come to an end sometime, but I don't know, man. This one, there's a monkey on their back that they cannot get off on 4/15. So that's my hot tips bet for next year. Bet against the Rays on 4/15.
Yeah, that is just some bad luck. It is unreal.
Let's see. And next year, that'll be a Wednesday. So it is possible they might actually get lucky and get a travel day on that day, but we'll see. we'll be here talking about it, I'm sure, the week after when they inevitably lose again. We just had Jackie Robinson Day this past week. The entire league wore Jackie's 42 and Dodger blue on their backs. I love that they do that. Dodgers also wore the Brooklyn Bees on their hat. I won't give Nike crap this time for making the B comically too big, but it was a nice tribute to see. And there were tributes for Jackie all across the league, as there always are. One of my favorite days. I love watching Jackie Robinson Day. I love watching the 42s pop up all over the league. One of my favorite moments. All right. Our alma mater, Warwick High School, they hit the road this past week. They were out in Chicago. The symphonic band performed at the Field Museum. Sounded great. Holy crap. Mad props to Matt Tenalia for the work he does with those kids. They sounded great. Listening to the brass just rumble around in the echoes of the Field Museum was great. And then the marching band performed the national anthem beautifully before the White Sox took on the Athletics and what ended up being a largely empty ballpark, as it was a cold night in Chicago. I think at the time of the playing, there might have been more kids in the band than there were butts in the seats, but hey, they did a good job. They sounded really good. It's good to hear great music coming out of our alma mater.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. It brings back a lot of fond memories of some of the trips we were able to take with Warwick and places we were able to perform. It's a great thing for them, and it's an experience they'll never forget. So
yeah, the memories of those trips are just awesome. I'm glad the trips are continuing, and again, the music is not dead at Warwick, and I'm so happy to see it. Jason's going to be marching this fall as an 8th grader. I'm really excited. I'll be more involved with the band parents and all of that. I can't wait. You know me. I come from a long marching band family, so this is just. I'm so excited for this journey to start for us.
It's just kind of a rite of passage, right? Like it's just, you're playing an instrument, you're going to be in a marching band and you're going to like it.
Well, and he was a runner last year. Like Mr. Tenalia lets 7th graders be runners for the band. So it already gets them exposed to what the season's like. And, same thing as when I was in the band. The upperclassmen, they just engulf the younger kids, make them feel loved, make them feel welcomed as part of the family. And it's awesome to see that has not changed. And Jason's so excited to start marching this year. I'm like, buddy, you say that now, wait till band camp, you're going to hate it. And then the season's going to start and you're going to remember why you love it again. Because, it's just the circle of how it works.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, let's see what's next up. So Hunter Wendelstedt, he had missed a pretty bad call at first base, and then not too long after that, took a line drive off his head. Of course, it was obviously an accident. It's not like the Mets were trying to hit him, although I'm sure initially they weren't too upset, and then they saw how long he was down the field, and then obviously there was a lot more concern. He is okay. I think he is in concussion protocol for the umps, but he is expected to make a complete recovery and be back out there before too much longer. Joe, is it time that the field umps wear helmets as well? A few years ago, they mandated that the first and third base coaches have to wear batting helmets when they're on the field. Should the field umpires wear helmets too?
I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea. I mean, there are some concerns, I think, at least in the umpires union, that it could impact their ability to see clearly, although that's clearly still a problem without them. But, I'm not necessarily opposed to them wearing it just for the sake of having it. If we're going to make the base coaches do it, then why not make all on-field personnel wear them? I mean, at basically, I mean, you're looking at a lot of, the unexpected occasional risk of a line drive coming screaming at your head. I mean, it's, the only, I guess the only thing I'm a little concerned about is that you have, as long as we keep it to the umpiring or coaching personnel, and there's not a movement to change it with position players and that kind of stuff. Obviously, I don't think there would be, but you do worry a little bit about that progressing further down than it really needs to. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to consider it. Whether they'll do it or not, I have a hard time believing they will.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, it's really, like you said, it was weird because he clearly blew a call that cost the Mets. I think it was either the tie or the lead, and it just spiraled from there briefly, and it was just like, holy cow. And then the Mets came up, and of course this happens, and I think it was Taylor that was up the bat, and I'm sure he felt awful, but it was just like, whoa, like,
yeah,
this is, like you said earlier, baseball giveth and baseball taketh. That was pretty close to being really scary for all involved, to be sure.
Yeah, it was that was a really scary shot to see. I go back and forth. It doesn't, they're not saying they should wear full face masks like the home plate umpire. I don't think it would be a bad idea if umpires would wear a batter's style, even without the ear. They don't need the ear flaps. I'm fine if they don't have it, but I think they should probably wear a helmet of some sort while they're down there because, they're taught instinctively to lean foul, and unfortunately, down the lines when the ball is curving, that's the way it's going to go. And I know it doesn't happen often, but it happens enough that I personally think it's worth considering making them wear the helmets. It's just my thoughts. I mean, if we're going to make the first and third base coaches do it, make the umpires down the lines do it too. The guy at second, I think you're okay not doing it. He's usually not at risk of being hit by a screamer like that because there's usually a fielder close by ready to catch it. But something like that, there's no chance for a first baseman to dive and get that. Not at all. So,
yeah, it's just it's a double-edged sword. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if they at least talk about it, but I'd be hard pressed to believe they're going to actually do it.
Yeah. We had the benches clear in Pittsburgh this past weekend with the Pirates and the Nationals. And the pitcher did end up getting suspended 3 games. He did appeal, so I don't know if the appeal process has gone through yet. So he of course, was allowed to, continue to pitch until the appeal is heard because this is baseball. We let you do that. That was who was it? Lopez. Yeah. So Lopez, first of all, he nailed Brian Reynolds in the knee with the pitch before that. I don't remember if it was a breaking ball or if it was a heater, but regardless, he hit the batter before in the knee, and then he throws a 99-mile-an-hour fireball that whether he meant to throw it at McCutcheon's head or not, McCutcheon ducked. He was not hit, but buddy, that's back to back. Even if you didn't intend to throw, if your control is that bad that you nail one guy in the knee and you almost smoke the next guy in the head, stop throwing inside because you don't have the control to safely throw in there. I'm not saying you have to throw over the middle of the plate, but you can't do that. That should have been an automatic ejection right then and there, or at least a warning given to the pitcher. And it drives me nuts. Like you can claim all you want that it was unintentional, and maybe it was, but if you don't have the control to do it, don't try to pound inside. That's the kind of shot that if that would have hit McCutcheon, he's out for at least a week because they're going to throw him in concussion protocol.
Yeah, I mean it certainly is. We've talked about this a ton. Obviously, you and I both have a mutual appreciation for folks like Greg Maddux, guys like Kyle Hendricks, who are control pitchers and not flamethrowers. And there's been so much focus on Max Velo in the last probably 5 years. And I think part of that has created a lot of issues, a lot of concerns, and I think this is one of them. Obviously you have to be allowed to throw where you want to throw, as far as inside, middle, outside, all that. But it just seems to me like we're running into an issue where there's more and more control issues, and the more control issues there are, the more it's past time to deal with it and find a solution. And they've got to do it soon because this is getting a little too close for comfort for a lot of these guys. And it's just concerning as a fan because you're just like, any given day, your favorite player could take one in real high and tight, and who knows what happens.
Yeah,
because they can't seem to control it. And there's got to be a way to control the baseball without giving pitchers a ridiculous amount of spin and contortion and all of that stuff. There's got to be a solution to that.
Yeah. Again, get a panel in the offseason, current and former players, executives, whatever, and hammer out until you find a solution that works for everybody. It's not that hard. Sit them down and don't let them leave until they're done. All right, and then Luis Arraez, he needed to be stretchered off after a hard collision at first base yesterday. I saw a video of that later. Holy crap. That looked like the running back that gets blown up by the linebacker in the middle of the field. That did not look like a baseball play. They did put him in the concussion protocol and on the IL immediately afterwards, but he is going to be okay. I think they're expecting him to be back pretty soon after, as soon as the 7 days is up. But that's also saying he stays clear in the protocol, so he should be okay. But boy, that was a monster hit. Arraez took at first base yesterday. Holy crap, that was a scary one. So the last of our quick news from the last 2 weeks, the Reds decided to play football yesterday and didn't tell the Orioles. So the Orioles showed up for a baseball game. The Reds played football and smacked the Orioles down 24-2. Wow. You see lopsided scores sometimes, and you sometimes see good teams get blown out. But boy, I got to tell you, Joe, I was not expecting that yesterday. 24-2. What the hell?
Hey, look, in the elite words of Jason Stark, that's baseball.
Yeah,
It's crazy. You know,
it's insane.
I'm just fortunate that we haven't been on the wrong side of one of those yet. So at least this year. So I mean, the Reds. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was just luck. Maybe the Francona effect is starting to break through.
They're due.
They are.
Yeah, they're definitely due, and like that's a team that's a team that for a few years now we've been kind of waiting to see if they were going to catch because they've got a ton of talent. I mean, Ellie De La Cruz is one of the best freaking players. Excuse me, he's one of the best players in the league right now. Hunter Green is pitching amazingly to start the year. I mean, the dude's shown that he has discovered his strike zone and has gotten great control of the ball so far this year. So definitely a team to watch. That said, yeah, nobody saw that coming yesterday. That especially not the Orioles pitching staff.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm kind of wondering. It just kind of feels like the Orioles have really struggled out of the gate this year.
Yeah,
And I just hope that a loss like that doesn't really further derail them. Um, it just seems like they've had a lot of difficulty getting off the ground this year so far.
yeah, it's something's up in Baltimore. I don't think. I mean, we knew they had a rough schedule to get going. I don't think anybody expected 9-12 at this point. Now, nobody expected Atlanta to start 8-13 either. It's still early. There's plenty of time for everybody to turn it around. But yeah, something's up in Baltimore right now. I'm not quite sure what.
Yeah, they're certainly missing. I think obviously Corbin Burns. I think that's a big factor, at least from a starting pitching standpoint.
Mhm.
Um, Whoever decided not to re-sign him is a moron. Um, as much as I'm not afraid of him as a Cub fan because the Cubs have had some success against him. Not signing him is just plain stupid.
Yeah,
From a team who needs pitching and is in contend now phase like this is a little concerning to a casual fan. I'm sure maybe we can pick Jim's brain a little bit between now and next week and kind of see where he's at. But like to me, this is like I don't know if it's panic time yet, but it's a little concerning.
yeah. And I mean, the Orioles run differential dropped to -20, so they were at +2 before that. So we'll take the run differential with a little grain of salt. But the fact of the matter is, they still have not scored 100 runs yet this year. And that's got to be concerning. Now Atlanta's only scored 77. I am very concerned about that. But that's not here, that's neither here nor there. We're still doing better than Kansas City, who has only scored 67, and the Rockies, who have scored 68. So there's that. All right, now let's get back into some more current news. And speaking of Atlanta, so so on Saturday, Jared Kelnick smashed one pretty good, kind of trotted out of the box, not really paying any damn attention because he thought he hit a home run, which, given how bad Kelnick's hitting this year, is idiotic at best. The ball ended up bouncing off the wall. Kelnick, as he got to first, was like, "Oh shit, that's in play. I need to run." Initially was called safe at second. On replay. They called him out because he was tagged out going into second. And then about 90 minutes before Atlanta started on Sunday, Mark Bowman had posted about Snitker's thoughts on Kelnick. He said he's tweeted, quote, "He protected Kelnick by replying, 'Was I supposed to?' When asked if he had said anything to Kelnick, he certainly could have said something, seeing how Kelnick's home run trot put him on the dugout side of the first base coach's box when the ball hit the wall." And yeah, he should have said something because somebody had tweeted at him and asked, he missed, Snit's comment last night on the lack of hustle. Well, Acuna before the game tweeted and said, "If it were me, they would take me out of the game. Because let's remember, that did happen back in 2019, August 19th. Um, he hadn't run hard out of Acuna hadn't run hard out of the box on a ground ball, and the shortstop bobbled the ball, and because Acuna didn't start out of the box hard, was thrown out when with his speed he would have been safe at first. And Snitker decided he didn't do anything then and there, but after the inning, Snitker decided to pull him out of the game to kind of make an example of it. I was fine with it at the time. It kind of reminded me of when Bobby pulled Andrew out of a game when he was screwing around in center field. I don't mind managers doing that, but if you're going to do that, and if that's the line you're going to take, he should have pulled Kelenic out of that game for dogging it down and getting thrown out at second on what should have been an easy stand-up or sliding double. And I don't mind, even though Acuna's not with the team right now because he was out in LA getting cleared to start rehab starts and start cutting on his knee after surgery. So that's why he's not with the team right now. I understand it's something that probably should have been handled internally, but Acuna's not with them right now. And frankly, I think Acuna's got a point. And Ronald Acuna Jr. is one of the leaders on that team. He's one of their superstars. And I think I have absolutely no issue at all with what Acuna said. Now, I think somebody from the Braves reached out. The tweet was taken down before the game began. But still, to this day, like Snitker has not come out and said anything. He's still kind of, he's just kind of kicking the ball down the field. You got to say something to that. Now, I will say this to Kelenic's defense. The next day, Kelenic was in Snitker's office. He apologized for the lack of hustle. Snitker did not have to come in. He came right in and said, yeah, I dogged it on that play. That was my bad. And I'm sure he reached out to Acuna later as well and apologized. But still, like, the fact that there was no response to Snitker right afterwards, like, you should have been watching the play unless you were addressing something else in the dugout. And then Snitker, he later said, I don't look for him not to hustle because he plays with his hair on fire all the time and he's laying out. I didn't know it until I saw it this morning. How did you not know? How did somebody in the team not alert you to this sooner? Like, this is a mess.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you hate to see these things play out in the social media and in any media at all, because it just distracts from what's going on already, which is enough. I mean, you have enough injury issues and other things to worry about to not have, personal crap get in the way here. And I think I was looking at Grant McCauley on Twitter, and he was, if you don't run it out and the ball doesn't leave the park, resulting in the loss of bases or outs, there should be consequences. That message should be read the same for every player every time.
Mm-hmm.
It's an accountability thing, and that matters. He further went on to say, mistakes in judgment happen. We all make them. I prefer to make mine when no one is watching, let alone 40,000 paid onlookers. And somebody else was like, in the same, thread was like, what makes it worse is that it's a human nature to give the elite players more leash. Snit is doing the opposite. He's giving a 500 OPS very replaceable player the benefit of the doubt while benching an MVP. Now, to be fair, Acuna's thing was before his MVP year, but there's something to be said for holding guys accountable. And there's certainly things to be said for, doing that, whether it's privately or publicly. It's just kind of, you have to kind of see what happens there, I guess. But, to me, it just made, it's worse when you have that kind of stuff play out. Like I said, you already have enough to worry about as a fan base and as a club to have extra stuff that doesn't need to be out there happen. And a lot of that's on Kelenic for sure for not hustling. To me, if I had my way, there'd be a rule change for some of this stuff where, if I don't know how many outs there were, but let's say there's, less than 2 outs. if you run the ball out and you're halfway to second or you're at second before it's caught, you should be safe. Should
Yeah.
not be an out. If you hustle it out, like there should be some sort of reward for the hustle, and that obviously it's a hypothetical, but like, there's got to be some way to encourage or enforce hustling out some of these plays because as you've seen, as I've seen over the years, obviously anything can happen on any particular play,
Hmm.
and like losing a base, it may not mean anything in that game, but down the road it shows more about who you are as a player. So
Yeah. Yep.
that's I think the concern for sure.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be fine. I'm sure it's going to be fine. They're handling it internally. And I'm sure there's going to be no issue with Kelnick and Acuna when Acuna's back in the dugout. I'm positive of that. But it's frustrating to see.
Yeah, you just don't want to give any room for any of that kind of stuff because it becomes its own problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something that you don't need from a problem standpoint. You don't need any more stories. You don't need anything distracting from what is already going on.
Yep, complete agreement. All right, so I think I think that finally catches us up from the last 2 weeks and up to now. So Joe, do you have anything for bringing out the good this week?
No, I think it's really nice. Other than I mean, the only really exciting thing, and it's a guy we followed a lot over the years. Liam Hendricks is finally back pitching.
Yeah.
Um, he's a fantastic human being, and it's good to see him um, being able to play with all the stuff he's gone through
Mhm.
with cancer and elbows and everything. I guess it's been a rough road for him, and I'm glad to see him finally have some success. And he's a frequent bring out the good nominee, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a really good guy. Gotta love it. 600 and I think it was 687 days between appearances, so it's great to see him back. Big shout out for local baseball in the Lancaster County area since Jason's not here tonight to do Down on the Farm. Manheim Township grad Nick Kurtz called up to the show. He was the Athletics first baseman. He's 22 years old, and he was the 4th overall pick from Wake Forest. So it's awesome to see a local guy make it up to the show. Hope he's up for a long time, and hope we see big things out of him, this season and beyond. Hey, I
Yeah,
wouldn't be upset to see Rookie of the Year for him.
yeah, and what's really the tagline on the headline, at least on MLB.com, is he's only played 32 games in the minors, and he has an OPS of 1.121. So
Damn.
the guy is absolutely cooking, and it's nice to see that rewarded
Yeah.
for him, to be sure. Um, it certainly is exciting stuff. Depending on when he plays, whether it's tomorrow or Wednesday, it's going to be 282 or 283 days after being drafted.
Wow. That's super
Which
fast.
a couple like some remarkable like after being drafted debuts. Mike Morgan debuted 5 days after being drafted in 1978.
Mhm.
Tim Conroy 17 days in 78 as well. Um, so I mean, it's just exciting to see someone make an impact quickly and make the jump as quickly as he has.
Yeah.
He is last year in the California League, he hit 400, 571, 960 with 4 homers, 2 doubles, and 12 RBIs through 7 games. He bypassed high A and promoted to double A, where he hit 308 in 5 games before a hamstring injury cut his season short.
I'd say he's ready.
In the fall league last year, he hit 353 with an OPS of 1.058 in 13 games. So, strike while the iron is hot, and strike while a team like the Athletics is trying to certainly make people notice them a little bit more.
Yeah.
With all of the negatives around that organization, certainly good to see some positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Good luck, man. We'll be cheering for you back here locally. All right. So for the first time this year, because we didn't do it on our post-opening day, because after 3 to 4 games, there was no point in doing a hot list. Joe, it's time for the first hot list of the year. All right. I'm going to go with Dylan Moore of the Mariners. You didn't have Dylan, did you?
I did not. No.
Okay, good. I was about to say I can switch if you need me to.
No.
So last week, 26 at bats. He hit 385, 407, 769. Scored 6 runs, 3 homers, 5 ribbies, 3 stolen bases, 10 hits, a double, a walk, and 7 strikeouts. Not too shabby for a guy that can play everywhere in the infield plus the outfield.
For sure. For sure.
Who do you got?
Well, I have, in honor of Jason, I've got Bryce Harper. This last week, hitting 350, OPS 519, slugging 900, I'm sorry, on base was 519. The OPS is 1.419. 8 runs on 7 hits, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, and 7 walks. A really fantastic week for him. Really exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's hitting really well right now.
The other one I had, it was Jake Fraley from the Cincinnati Reds. This past week, he hit 412, 545, 882, an OPS of 1.427. I think the numbers now include today. 6 runs on 8 hits, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts, and one time caught stealing. So really impressive stuff from those 2 guys this week.
Yeah, no arguments there. All right, who's the Moneyball hitter of the week?
The Moneyball is Gavin Lux from the Cincinnati Reds. His slash line this week, 611, 696, 667, and an OPS of 1.363. Those numbers alone are insane. 7 runs on 11 hits, 1 double, 4 RBIs, 5 walks, 1 stolen base, and only struck out once. So really seeing the ball well, really giving himself an opportunity to put himself in position for guys in the order behind him to get him across. So really doing what it took this year. Like that, there's no, not a ton of doubles and no home runs, but still a really fantastic week for him.
Yeah, I'd love to have a week like that. All right, looking at the pitchers, my starter for the week is going to be Jake Irvin from the Nationals. 2 appearances, 2-0, 2 quality starts, 13 in the 3rd innings, 15 strikeouts. Only gave up 2 earned runs, 6 hits, and a walk, 2 home runs. So the 2 runs and 2 solo shots isn't bad. That's for those keeping score at home, a 1.35 ERA and a .53 WHIP. Not bad. Who do you got
at all? So I have Merrill Kelly from Arizona, 1-0 in 2 starts, 11.2 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts, a WHIP of .60, and a batting average against a 125. So really exciting stuff for him. Unfortunately, I was on the other side of one of those starts this weekend. Yeah. I think he left the game for, and it sounded like they were saying it was for injury, but he was also at like 80 some pitches. So I don't know if they just used injury as a way of getting him out mid batter or what. But so it was something to keep an eye on as to whether he continues to pitch. And then I think the other one I have, Tyler Mahle for Texas, the Rangers. 1-0 in 2 starts, 13 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 5 walks, 13 strikeouts, a .77 WHIP, and a 116 batting average against. So pretty solid week for him.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Who is the adulting reliever of the week, Joe?
So the adulting reliever of the week for this year, the first one, is Kyle Finnegan. His ERA for the week was a 3. He made 3 appearances, 3 saves, and 3 save opportunities. 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, a WHIP of 1.00, and a batting average against of just 100. What's really exciting about this week for him is with Sunday's performance, he had pitched in 300 games, 300 innings pitched, and has 300 strikeouts as a closer, all in one. Hitting that number right on the head on Sunday with 1 inning and 1 strikeout. So really exciting stuff for him.
I mean, even if he wasn't the best reliever of last week, to hit the 300, that's got to get mentioned. That's a great baseball statistic right there.
Yeah, that's just exciting stuff, and it's fun to see little stuff like that happen. It's one of the reasons I think that a lot of people have fallen in love with the sport over the years. There's just those random things that happen.
Random quirks that just pop up. Yep. That's why baseball's great. It really is. All right. Well, that's going to be it for us tonight. Now that we're all caught back up, hopefully everything will be regular going forward. Like I said, it's good to be back. Hopefully Jason will be back with us next week. Not sure what happened to him tonight, but we'll see him when he's back next time. He might be a little upset over the Mets and Phillies. The Mets are up 5-0. I think the Castellanos big news home run streak might finally come crashing to a halt tonight. So unfortunately for Jason there, although, hey, Atlanta won, so something good happened today at least.
Yeah, and the Cubs can't lose because they're not playing. So
yeah, unlike Atlanta after that first road trip, the Cubbies did not lose the off day like Atlanta did.
Yeah. I will say this, the only other bizarre stat for this week is Baseball Reference issued their best percentage of odds of winning the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope nobody shows this to Jed Hoyer or Tom Ricketts or anybody in the organization, because Baseball Reference has them at a 17.6% chance of winning the entire thing. And that's number 1 on this list based on their start. So hopefully nobody in the Cubs front office heard that or listens to it or looks at it, but good Lord. Don't give them any incentive not to spend money, please.
Yeah, amen to that. Or if they're going to if they want to spend money and keep it in tight, give it to Tucker. Come on, just back up the Brinks truck to his house. That's the right move at this point. He's earned it. All right, guys. Audio recordings are available on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, anywhere you can find podcasts. We are also live on YouTube as well as Facebook. Merchandise is at redbubble.com. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. And we are presented by Dark Arrow Podcast, LLC, and sponsored by the fantastic Baron Barbershop over in Mannheim. As you can see, Johnny did a great job of cutting through the winter brambles of the beard I had and getting me ready for more of the spring, summer beard to come. So, folks, may your dog always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. We will see you next week.